Welcome to Made for Mondays, the source for digging a little deeper into the Believers Church Sunday messages and finding ways to apply them to our daily lives. Together, let's take a deeper look and find a way to bring Mondays back.
Hey everybody, welcome to the pod. My name is Heather, and who are you fellas?
Hey Heather, I'm Tyler.
Hey Tyler.
Back on the pod.
Good.
Good to have you back. And Jamie.
Hi Jamie. It's Monday morning of Christmas week. I
Yeah.
can't even believe it. It's our last pod of the year.
It is.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So great.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
not
yeah,
coming in
'cause-
next week.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Nobody
Just
is. It's
my
going to be
brains.
quiet.
Yes.
So we're going to encourage all of our listeners to go back and listen to maybe a pod you didn't listen to this year.
Certainly everyone has listened to every one of them.
That's right.
Oh, look at you being so
Get a refresher,
optimistic.
you know?
Yeah.
So
just
out
a
of
refresher.
character for you, Jamie.
I know.
But yeah, go ahead and listen to one. Maybe share out some podcasts
Yeah.
that you've liked this year with
Yeah.
some people. But we're taking a little break. Our staff gets the Christmas week to just recoup from the
Super
year.
nice.
Yeah, super great. But then we'll be back in the new year.
We will.
So, what did you guys do this weekend, Tyler? You had a very exciting weekend.
Did have a very exciting weekend. My parents came down to hear the sermon this Sunday. And I went to a great restaurant. It's awesome. I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to put them down. But
Right.
we ended up getting a little food poisoning
boy.
from some crab that we had. And it was not fun. Not a good weekend because of
Yes.
that. I've had food poisoning before a few times, unfortunately. But I've learned that seafood poisoning is a little different.
Yeah,
A lot worse
a lot
So
worse.
you went out to eat Friday evening. When did you start getting sick?
that night.
Yeah.
So about like midnight, 2 a.m. It was not good.
And several of you.
And so, yes. So myself, Karina, and my dad,
Yeah.
who had a little less than both of us, but thank God my mom is allergic to seafood. She didn't eat it, and so she could take Silas, and
Ended up being the strong move right there.
it was.
She was
yeah.
the hero.
She was
of
the hero of the night.
weekend.
She got plenty of ginger ale, Pedialyte. She was doing
Yeah.
all that stuff. So
Oh man.
she made it nice.
Yes.
Yeah. But we made it, and I was able to be there for Sunday, so
Yeah.
praise God for that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I know we all got a Teams message from Tyler that's
Oh, yeah.
you were telling us, and we were all like, "Oh no," because we knew you were preaching on Sunday, and
That's been it's been like a recurring thing. Like sicknesses before the Sunday
yes,
coming up is
it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yep. Well, Jamie, did you do anything fun this weekend?
I did do something fun this weekend. Saturday, we went to the Nora Theater, expanded theater in downtown
yes,
Norfolk.
the Narrow.
Narrow, that's what it is,
Yes,
yeah. And saw A Christmas Story.
Fun.
Yeah,
Nice.
that was super fun. So that's the third year we've done that. So Sarah and Bonnie and I, and this year Tyler. So not you, Tyler,
but that's,
another Tyler. But yeah, it was super fun, and they also were playing all the Christmas movies.
Yeah.
They had Die Hard there. They had
Yep.
It's a Wonderful Life
Yep.
was also playing. It's just kind of fun. It's a
Yeah,
it's
all
a cool,
December long they do
yeah,
that.
it's
Ooh,
it's a
nice.
cool theater, and it's they don't gouge you. It's not
Right.
it's reasonable, all the stuff, and nice people running it. Yeah, it was great.
it's the Nero.
It's the Narrow.
Narrow, okay. Okay.
Yep.
Over-
It's right on Collie.
Yeah, on Collie near Luna Maya, 10 Top.
nice. Wow.
Yeah, over that way.
Yep.
Okay, I've been to Luna Eye before, but never saw
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
it's fun, and I think they have regular run movies
Oh, yeah.
throughout the year.
Yep.
But it's just a single theater. So yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good. We were able to celebrate Nate's birthday this weekend.
Yeah.
It was,
Oh, yeah.
it was his birthday on Saturday. So on Friday, our kids came over and did, they made dinner and stuff. So Kendra made jambalaya and it was delicious.
I love jambalaya.
Yeah. So she and Spen and Megs did the whole dinner, and then we played games, and that was a lot of fun. And then on Saturday, we just kind of hung out and took it easy. And then Nate and I went with Jeremy out to the lights at Sleepy Hole Park
Yeah, I heard about
to help with an event out there.
Sounded great.
Yeah, It was lovely, but it was so cold.
Oh,
and
okay.
we kind of thought we were going to be inside for what we were going to be doing, but we were not inside. So we were all very, very cold. Jeremy was super trooper. Extraordinary. Nate and I had dinner reservations, so we ducked early. But Jeremy stayed and passed out all of our invitations before he
Good job, Jeremy.
cut out. And yeah, it was great
Look at that guy.
to be out there. But yeah, it was blustery.
It was.
It was very cold.
Be outside. Oh.
It was a cold weekend.
And it was like, it's right on the water, Sleepy Hole.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, we were very, very cold. And as we were going back, Nate was like, there is no longer any Minnesota blood in this boy. Yeah, it is gone. But we went to Steinhilber's for dinner, which is down in Virginia Beach. And that's our first time there, but it was lovely. It was just really a nice meal. Nate got their ribeye steak for his birthday meal.
Nice.
And he enjoyed that thoroughly. So, yeah, it was really,
No food poisoning?
really cool.
Like
No, we did not
Sounds good.
enjoy that part of a meal. So, yeah, but that was really fun. And then we had a great Sunday with
It was a good Sunday.
Yeah, we had our ugly sweater Sunday.
That was fun.
We had pajamas.
Yep.
We had pancakes at the cafe.
Yeah,
I
that was a big hit.
people enjoying all of that. So, yeah, I just thought it was such a fun way to kind of celebrate the Sunday before all of the Christmas things start happening. But before we get into your message, we do love chatting about our Bible reading challenge, and we wrapped up the book of John this week is what we're doing. So chapters 19 through 21.
Yep.
So anything stand out to you guys this week as you started diving into that?
Well, a couple things. So this reading plan, it's been really good. Tyler's talked about it a lot. I've really enjoyed it too, but I do wish that they would have more evenly spaced. Like there's some weeks that you're like a chapter and it's like you're reading 5 verses a day. And then this week 3 chapters.
And like long chapters.
And dense chapters.
Right.
You know, because we're at the crucifixion and resurrection.
It's a lot to process.
It's a lot. Yeah. I wish they would have kind of slowed it down
for a
on
minute.
the end.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's just
it's
that.
the way it is. Yeah.
But yeah, like I was just struck by the contrast of here we are celebrating the birth of Jesus while we're reading about his crucifixion, and you know, the purpose of his birth was fulfilled in his crucifixion and resurrection. So the kind of the timeliness of it, or the stark contrast of those two things, just kind of interesting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that it reminds me of that. I think you brought it up, Jamie, once where because John talks about Jesus as like I think Mary thinks he's a gardener, and the imagery of the first garden, and that God's redeemed that, and that just brought that up again. I was like, that's just such a cool.
That was on Easter this year that we talked about that.
Okay, yeah. I just like that's just such a cool way to think about that. I just never had it before, so it's good to think about that again.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. I love too where just the reminder of Jesus reminding Peter and asking him 3 times how much he loves him, and just that redemption story brought in there of where he denied him 3 times and Jesus asks him 3 times if he loves him, and it's just such a beautiful picture of that. Just kind of lets him off the hook with that, and I love that part of that. I also love reading about how John wraps up the book and just says like that there's so much more that could be told, and like how big would this book have to be if we actually captured all that Jesus did, and that the miracles that he performed and the stories that he told and the words that he spoke. Like it's just we lose that sometimes. We just think like, oh, this is all that happened when Jesus was in this 3 years. And it's like, no, I mean, there's so much more that wasn't even written down, And I love that John captures that in his gospel.
So cool.
So, that just stood out to me reading that today. So I hope as you guys have been following along that you have some great things that have been standing out to you through this reading challenge, and we're excited to kick off a new one in the new year.
Right. So we will have a new reading plan starting on January 1st. It will be loaded into the app just like this one was, and this will be the New Testament and Psalms and Proverbs.
Yeah.
Oh,
so I'm really looking forward to it. I've had a chance to kind of look through. I love how they mix it up. So there's the Psalms and Proverbs are kind of scattered in throughout the week. So I think it's going to be a good fresh read on the New Testament with Psalms and Proverbs.
Yeah. Okay. So that'll be great. Well, we were in week 4 of It's a Wonderful Life, and you were talking about evangelism this week, Tyler. And you opened up saying that your favorite Christmas movie is the Jim Carrey version of The Grinch.
Yes.
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
We're watching it today.
Are you?
Are you? Okay.
Just get in the mood,
Yeah.
Christmas.
Jamie, do you think that's the best Grinch movie?
I have to say the original animated version is still my favorite.
It's classic.
Yeah, it's such a classic.
Yeah.
I wonder if
But I think the Jim Carrey one, it's such a incredible version of it, I mean, it is, when it came out, I remember, I was so impressed with how they pulled off what they did with that one.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Have you seen the newest animated one?
No, I have not.
Oh, that is also fantastic.
Oh, yeah,
it is. It actually is, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I wonder if it's like depending on your generation of Grinch, if that's like what, if that's the one that you think is the best.
I'll have to, is there a place that I can watch the newest one?
It's streaming somewhere.
Is it Netflix, Hulu, one of those?
Yeah, I think maybe it's on Hulu.
Oh.
Netflix, I said Hulu. Yeah, it's streaming somewhere.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll look for it.
Yeah, maybe it's on Peacock. I don't know. But it is
I
out
do
there.
love Jim Carrey's Grinch, though. I just learned that to put like all the makeup and all that on, he had to sit there for like 8 hours. And so they brought in like a special ops, what do they describe it as, when you was able to withstand torture.
Really?
To bring him in, to coach him through sitting there and enduring
for
that.
as long as he had to.
Yeah. Because he wasn't going to do the movie. Because he said, this is just too much. Like, I can't keep doing this. And then he brought that guy in to help him out. I was like, wow. That's pretty incredible.
Wow.
I had no idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it is fun. We haven't watched that one yet this year. I watched the cartoon one and the original one. And Nate and I watched the newest one together because we think it's so fun. But we have not watched the Jim Carrey one yet, so maybe we'll get that one in before Wednesday.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll manage that, but we'll see. So the theme of your message was evangelism, and you told us how Google defines it. Will you read us what that definition is again, Tyler, or do you just know it off the top of your head?
I know it off the top of my head. It's the spread of the Christian gospel through public preaching or personal witness.
Okay.
So that's straight from Google.
Yeah.
I mean.
So we come from like different backgrounds. In what ways is that definition different or similar to how you guys grew up thinking about evangelism? Like, does that relate to you? Not necessarily now, but is that how you would have described evangelism when you were growing up?
I think so. And for me, my tradition, it would lean definitely more on the public preaching side, whereas the pastor was seen as a guy who's supposed to do really everything. You're supposed to you're supposed to try to bring people to him so he can tell them the gospel. It's not for you. Even though it's never said, it's just kind of the feel you get. And so like doing that is just a way of your life, Monday to Friday or Saturday or every day of the week. It's more just bring him to the pastor, let him do the work.
Yeah. So you didn't grow up like with this like call on the church to go out and evangelize people?
Not really.
Okay.
No. But when I started to get into my own faith, and that's where my story comes from. That's where I kind of put that on myself a little bit to go do that. And then that's when I kind of got a little crazy. But yeah.
What about you, Jamie?
Of course, growing up, I I wasn't a churchgoer,
Yeah.
but I did go to camp, and evangelism at the camp I went to. Yeah, it was a little bit of the campfire, high pressure.
Yeah.
Like you think that's hot, kind of stuff. Scare the kids into heaven. So I remember that, and then
You didn't have did you have an impression of people evangelizing in your community at all, or was that not something even around you?
I don't recall
Okay.
ever really
Yeah.
seeing it. Of course, I grew up in a very Catholic community, so those churches weren't
Outward facing.
they
like
weren't
that.
outward facing at all. Yeah. College, though, there was a really strong emphasis. I even took a course on personal evangelism. And that's when it really kind of turned into it's your mission to get out there and
Yeah.
convince everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up very much in an evangelistic church environment. So the church that my dad was went to seminary through, and they were very local and world mission oriented. And so that was very much a part of, I feel like, what was we were constantly talking about ways to share our faith from the time we were young.
Yeah.
So from tracts and handing those kinds of things out, and knowing how to walk someone through the Romans Road and all those kinds of things.
Laws,
Yeah.
yeah.
That was just a part of kind of the things that we had pioneer clubs and which would be Awana, those kinds of things. So that kind of stuff for me was definitely rooted from the time I was in third grade on.
Yeah, there was when I was in college, there were local churches that would partner with the school, and they would use students to go door knocking and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
So we did a lot of that kind of stuff too when I was in school, and I will say God used a lot of that, cultures change. So someone knocking on your door today isn't the same as it was 30 years ago. So yeah, I think I don't want to come off as being negative on what those methods were. I think the methods fit kind of the times, and God used it.
I didn't grow up necessarily with knocking on doors, but I remember things of even in youth group time and stuff, just malls were still a big thing and things like that. So being able to go up to someone in a mall and sit down and have a conversation and introduce yourself to them and start to hear their story and share your story, those kinds of things. Which it still feels like that to me now. Even that's not something that I would want to do.
Yeah.
But that was stuff that we were being
Yeah. So that brings me to just one of the things that was probably an evolution of my own thinking when it came to sharing faith. Bonnie worked in retail when we were married college students, and was an assistant manager at this one store, and she had worked very long and hard to establish a relationship with the manager of that store, who knew she was a believer, and but looking for opportunities to sow seeds of the gospel into this person's life with acts of kindness and words at the right time and all those kinds of things. And I won't say who it was, but someone came into the store that knew Bonnie and just put that manager on gospel blast.
Ugh.
And took her, back 20 steps from all the progress that Bonnie
Right.
had been making. And it was kind of an eye-opener for me to see, you know, like you were saying, it's not the message. The message was, you know, the message doesn't change. It was the messenger and the method of the messenger that had a negative impact on this person's faith journey. And Bonnie had to do, you know, reparative work afterwards. And that's a great example, I think, of what you were talking about at the beginning, you know, like how you share this message. We were talking about this in a teaching team meeting not that long ago. You know, how you say what you say is almost as important as what you say. And so, you know, the gospel is this incredible message of hope and truth, but delivered poorly or without, like in that instance of the story of the manager that Bonnie worked for, without relational collateral there, it just did damage. It was an unwanted intrusion that had a negative impact, and it wasn't the message was fine. It was how it was delivered.
Yeah. I love that you shared that Tom Brady clip. It was
It pains me to do that.
Yes, as a Ravens fan, you had to share this clip of Tom Brady, but you did it anyway for the sake of the gospel, Tyler.
Thank you.
Tom Brady when he was a little kid.
Yes, I know. Nate was like, look at how chubby he looks.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's changed. Yeah.
But yeah, just like hearing someone like him, like just kind of searching, right? Like by worldly standards, like he's just got kind of everything at his disposal and still just feels kind of this unfulfilled, you know, thing. Like he's like still grasping for like, what is that thing that's going to fulfill me? And that's such a relatable feeling for people. And so as Christians, we can kind of be quick to like jump into that space because we do feel like we know what that thing is. Like that thing is Jesus. And so it comes from this good space, but we can, like you were just saying, Jamie, like we can just step in too quickly or just not quite appropriately. And that just led us right into such a great big idea for this week, which was don't be a gatekeeper, be a guide. And you talked to us a lot about what it looks like or you were saying we don't want to treat people like projects. So my question is just like, what does it look like to treat someone like a project? Because like you hear that and you're like, oh yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to treat someone like a project. But practically speaking, like what are we doing when we treat someone like a project?
Yes.
Because I think some of us might do that and not even be aware. You know?
Yeah. No, I can attest to that a lot because, like I said, when I was like learning more about Jesus, making my faith my own kind of thing, and it's like, all right, I got this message, I got to share it. When I had what I would call friends, that's all I was talking about. That's all I was like. We had no other relational collateral, as you would say. Yeah. I didn't hang out with him outside of anything else. That's all we did, all we talked about, because I put this pressure on myself that if I don't do this, I'm not following Jesus. And I would say really that is treating someone like a project when you're not after a relationship. You're not trying to love them well. You're not trying to make friends. You are just trying to push this message on people, even though it's the gospel, it's the hope of the world. And yet I was just pushing it on them without wanting actual relationship from them. And so I think that kind of captures what a project is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And in the case of like the story that I shared, I think it's like for this person, it's kind of like the notch in the belt kind of thing, you know, like, oh yeah, I got another star on the helmet, you know, that you brought another one across the line of faith, and like then it becomes all about you, right? And the bragging rights on how many people that you drag across the line of faith, and it's just it's kind of ugly.
Yeah. So, yeah, when you're not getting to know people for who they are, you're just wanting to proselytize, really.
Yes,
You're not,
that's
wanting to know about their family and about their work environment and their...
Yes. Because if you asked me any of those questions about any of them,
You wouldn't have known.
I wouldn't have known anything.
Okay.
So that, I think, that shows
Okay.
I did not care about, and it's so, if I was talking to my younger self, I would have told myself, I do care about them. I'm
Sure.
sharing the gospel with them.
Right.
And
You care about their eternity.
yes, I care about the eternity. Yes,
Yes.
but they're living life right now, and me not caring about that at all just showed them that I didn't really care about them.
Yeah.
I just wanted a notch in my belt.
Yeah.
So some of the, what are some what's some language we can use? What are some actions we might be able to do that would help us to not fall into that trap?
I think you just mentioned something along those lines. Like we talked about his story, your story. You can hear their story just to learn about them and to just help to get to know someone, to build a relationship. I think those are the words I would lean on, is building relationship with people. Like I said yesterday, it sounded even weird saying it from stage, not for the, I mean, you want to share the gospel. Obviously we do. But just to build a relationship for the relationship's sake,
Right.
hoping to be able to plant some seeds
Yeah.
to share the message of Jesus at some point.
Well, you said no one cares about what you know about Jesus until they know how much you care about them. So that's kind of the bottom line, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to be able to have that effectual space where they're going to even be open to hearing about Jesus.
Especially now.
Right.
Culture's changed.
Yep.
It's just not the same as it was. So,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. So I love the passage in 1 Corinthians 9:20 and 23 where Paul's really talking about how he becomes all things for all people. How do we apply that to our lives?
Man. Chris Doan reached out asking for like specifics on how to do something like that. Because the question is, like, I don't want to compromise my faith. I want to do that, but I want to make sure that I'm not compromising. I want to follow Jesus, but how can I do that in a real way? And one example that I wish I could have thought of yesterday that came to my mind was, so we're in the holiday season. Either you can say Merry Christmas or you can say Happy Holidays. I know personally some friends that want to stay strong on saying Merry Christmas. And say, hey, I gotta say this, or I'm not being strong in my faith. I'm not, standing strong on God's word. But I would challenge that to say someone like Jeremy's daughter Lucy brought her friend Emma to church yesterday, who's grew up in a Jewish household. They don't celebrate Christmas. What would it look like to lay down our preference to say Merry Christmas to them, to try to build a relationship only saying Happy Holidays to them?
Or Happy Hanukkah. Right.
Or something else, to lay down a preference
Yeah.
to be able to build a relationship in some way.
Yeah. I thought you gave some good examples yesterday. You used the politics example. You used the rights that we have that we, feel so strongly about, our constitutional rights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to give up some of your constitutional rights if it paved the way for someone to find Jesus? I mean, no doubt people were accusing Paul of being a compromiser.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
He was outcast from people tried to kill him because they were accusing him so much of compromise. And yet he was more committed to bringing Jesus across those barriers than he was offending people who, believe similarly to him.
Yeah.
So I thought you gave some great examples.
Oh, good. I appreciate that. But then even thinking of that too, the same thing happened to Jesus.
Yeah.
Like he was definitely pushing the line of what they thought was acceptable, especially
For sure.
the relationships he had.
Yep.
They called him a glutton and a drunkard.
Yep.
And said he's a friend of tax collectors and sinners.
Yeah.
And yet he's bringing people to himself.
Yeah. So,
Need
you
him
know,
the
you
most.
mentioned yesterday, like even going into some spaces that you wouldn't normally go to, like you can do that and not compromise,
Yeah.
Yep.
you know? So it
I
all
was going to
depends.
bring up one place. I was like, I should do it from stage.
All
I don't
depends
know.
on how
But-
you're going to define compromise. But like when I was in college, you know, like it was frowned upon to, you know, go to the movies. And the thought was, well, you could be watching something that is completely inappropriate. So you don't want to compromise by appearing to be in a place where, you know, where you're watching something that would not be, you know, appropriate or whatever. But you know, you think about, like you just said about Jesus, like some of the dinner parties that he was at, it was scandalous that he was there, and yet he was there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that willingness to be in spaces that just to be there and shine a light, and in reading through the Gospels as we did this year, when Jesus was in those spaces, we don't read of him preaching.
No.
Like we just read of him being
Just being
relational to people. So interesting.
Yeah, I was going to say we don't read of him preaching. We also don't read of him participating. Like he's just being relational. That's what I love about even these verses in Corinthians. Like Paul still says like, and I obey the law of Christ. Like he's still being obedient to his faith. He's not participating in like the sinfulness of what's going on. So I think,
But when
you
he's
know,
with the Jewish community, he's
Yeah.
observing Jewish laws that
Right.
he knows he's not required to follow, but he
Right.
follows them in order to earn respect and be in a
Right.
position to be able to share Jesus with
Yes.
people who are following those laws. So I mean, it's just a good example. He took on extra
Yes.
stuff when he needed to. You know, he became more legalistic when he was around legalistic people in order to proclaim
Right.
grace, you know? So,
Yep.
yeah, just interesting. It went both ways. You know,
Right.
like he would
Yep.
he would shed the rules and obey the law of Christ, which is to love others as Christ loved you, and be with Gentiles and pagans and,
Yes.
you know, folks on that side, and then way over on the other side, he would become ultra religious to appease the religious people, but so that he could have a platform in which to share.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, him just being Jewish and hanging out with a Gentile, he's going to be called a compromiser immediately.
Yep.
Yep.
And yet he was willing to do that for the cause of Christ.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I think another thing to be really mindful of is like if just being really prayed up, if you feel like the Lord is calling you into different spaces of where like Christians don't usually go, or in environments or with people that are far from the Lord, like to have accountability in that too. Like we talk about it a lot, like having accountability partners and people that know what you're doing and why you're doing it and stuff like that. Because I think that's where some of it can get, for the Christ follower, like can feel a little like, am I crossing a line here? Well, then don't do it by yourself. Like make sure that someone else knows that this is something that I feel the Lord is calling me to. And I feel like the Lord's asking me to, reach out to this people group or to be involved in a book study or whatever that you want to be, that's maybe challenging to your faith. And so that's something that you want someone else who shares your values to know that and are praying along with you and helping keep you strong in your faith so that you can be sharing your faith with someone else that's outside of your faith. So that's not just like you going solo, because there is that's a tension point. That can be a tension point. So just don't do it alone.
Yeah.
Like make sure you're praying about it. Make sure it's something that you really feel that you're strong enough in your faith to handle, and that someone else is knows what's going on, and you can be checking in with them and they can check in with you, and those kinds of things. I think that's really important.
It is. It's funny. I don't know how I didn't think of this before or remember this, but we went to New Orleans a couple of years ago, and I would have never, I could have never done this to 10 years ago. I'd have never done this, but we went to Bourbon Street, and it was I knew going in, I was like, okay, it's going to be wild, whatever. It wasn't Mardi Gras weekend, so it wasn't that crazy. But it was wild out there.
Oh, yeah, it's wild.
I was just so struck at okay, this is where I think Jesus would be. This is where I think Paul would be. Just to hang out, just to build relationship, just to... And I know immediately, me even saying that, people look at that and say, well, how could you ever say that they would be... But that's what people need to hear, the gospel. People need to make friends and grow in relationship with people. And I was so glad that we went, because I was able to just talk to people, hang out, hear stories, and it was so fun just to be there. Yeah. And just to build a relationship. It was just something I could have never done before. But God's just working on my heart. So it's been good. Yeah. But
that's awesome. Well, before we wrap up, I want to make sure that we talk a little bit about our Christmas Eve services and the gift. And so, Jamie, anything you want to say about the gift? I know you're nervous.
I'm a little nervous. So I haven't seen any numbers today, but leading into the weekend, we were about halfway there. So we'll see. So you have one opportunity left to give in person.
Right.
But of course you can give online. The gift option will be there until the end of the year. So, you can give, the goal $100,000. You can go to our website and see a full breakdown of where all those dollars are going. But so many great things will be accomplished through it. So I'm very excited for that. And sometime, probably second Sunday of the new year, we'll let everyone know if we hit it or not. Yeah. Gives us time to catch up. That first week, we probably won't know yet. Probably won't. We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be great. And we have Christmas Eve services on Christmas Eve, which is tomorrow. At 4 and 5:30. And it's family-friendly services, but we will also be offering childcare for those littles that are 3 and under. So we do want to let you know that is available.
And pretty traditional.
Yeah, it's a pretty traditional service.
Yeah, so there was a guy that a lot of us follow in church leadership stuff, Carrie Newhoff, and he put out a thing last week, 5 things you shouldn't do at Christmas. And one of them was something that we had done for 20 or 15 years or so, and that was make it as crazy as possible. So I was telling my call group about our final one of those, I think, was our Pirate Christmas, where we said nothing says Christmas like pirates. So
we were tying it into next gen.
We were.
Okay.
And then we were like, let's not do that.
So people want a traditional Christmas. That's what we're doing.
Yep. So we also want you to know that we will not be having services on campus this coming Sunday. Instead, we're going to invite you to join us online for our special end-of-year wrap-up experience, and you'll be able to find that on our website. What are you looking at Jeremy for?
I'm just trying to see what the experience is going to be. I mean, that's a lot of pressure.
And on our website and on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, we will talk about what our new theme for the new year is and what our new memory verse for the new year is going to be and all that kind of stuff. So
that's an experience.
That is an experience.
That's quite an experience.
You're going to spend time with Jamie. Who doesn't want that on Sunday?
Right.
So tune in online, YouTube, and our website.
Yeah.
And until then, Merry Christmas, everybody. We'll see you in the new year. Go be love.